Hello, everyone, and welcome to Franz's Real Estate Facts, episode 18. We are now of legal age to vote, possibly. I guess we get to decide whatever happens with this podcast moving forward. Um, I am here today with my guest, Damien Pietak, who is the owner of Superior Air Systems. And it's almost Memorial Day, which is supposedly the start of summer. We've had beautiful weather out here in San Diego. There's been like no May gray, which is really nice. And it's also been kind of warm and a little bit hotter, which means that people might need to start thinking about how to make their houses livable when it's like, I don't know, 90 or 100 degrees. And they want to have their HVAC systems working. So I thought Damien would be an excellent guest. He's worked with my clients before. He's inspected, made some suggestions about what they need to do, and with their HVAC systems. And I thought that Damien would be a really great guest to come and talk to us about things that we should know about our HVAC systems. How can we be good homeowners and treat our HVAC systems with the respect that they deserve so that they, keep our houses cool or warm as we need them to. So thank you so much for being with us, Damien. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so let's just kind of get started. I guess the first question is, what exactly is an HVAC system? I mean, people say HVAC, it's what, heating, ventilation, air conditioning?
That's exactly what it stands for. Yeah.
Awesome. And so what do they do exactly?
Well, most people think of air conditioning as it's cooling the house. In reality, what it's doing is it's removing heat from the house. So most people are familiar that if like your refrigerator is running, there's hot air that comes out the back of it. That's because what a refrigerator does is it removes heat from inside the box and puts it outside. Well, your air conditioning is just like a bigger refrigerator. It uses Freon to soak up the heat, and then it takes that heat outside. And that's why if you have an air conditioner in the backyard and you put your hand over it when it's running, you'll feel hot air. And so you think of the Freon like a sponge. It soaks up the heat inside and then it takes it out and expels that heat. So in cooling mode, you're removing heat. In heating mode, you're doing the opposite. You're adding heat. And sometimes you use gas to heat the house, and sometimes it's also electricity. So it's just basically to make your home more comfortable.
Exactly. Awesome. So, it sounds like HVAC systems basically kind of move heat around to make the house cooler or warmer as necessary. And so obviously like not going into all of the interesting, I'm sure to you, technical aspects of HVAC systems, what are some things that a lay homeowner who really has no interest in the internal functioning of the HVAC system, what are some things that they should know about their system to know whether their system is working or not working? And it's not when you turn on your AC and it's still 100 degrees in your house. Like, what are some steps before that you should be paying attention to as a homeowner to know whether your system is working or not?
Well, first off, I would say anytime before the season starts, like now, when the weather is starting to warm up a little bit, turn on your system, make sure it's working and that it seems to be cooling properly. The filter is one of the few things that a homeowner can actually do that will affect their system more than anything else. If you have a dirty filter, then it's going to cause the system to not be able to move airflow properly, and that causes your bill to go up. It causes the machine to work harder. It'll shorten the life. It'll cause damage to it and eventually cause it to break down. So changing the filter fairly regularly is important. People always ask me, how often should I do it? And it totally depends on the type of filter, how dense it is, how much it catches, and how much you use it. The same
Mm,
filter that you don't use in the fall or the spring and don't need to change, when you use it a lot in the summer or winter, it's going to need to be changed more. So I always recommend when you get your energy bill, inspect your filter. And if it seems to be dirty, then change it. Filters are cheap. And so it's just much better to do that. The other one thing I would say is if you have an air conditioner outside sitting on the ground and so forth, just make sure there's not weeds or branches or trees grown up into it or blocking the airflow. Other than that, it's mainly about getting a professional out to your home. Have somebody that you can trust that will come out and look at your system and thoroughly go through it and find out if there is an issue. And if you have questions about something that they're recommending, then get a second opinion.
That's really helpful. So obviously, as you just said, checking the filter is really helpful. Changing out the filter, as you said, they're cheap. They're what, like maybe 10 bucks, something like that. Not necessarily super expensive.
Yeah, depending on the
Um,
filter.
right. Depending on the filter, it's not like $100. It's like, well under that. I assume. And also inspecting around the system outside.
Yeah, your heating and air system really is the largest and most expensive appliance in your home. And if it's properly installed, properly maintained, you should get significant life out of it. In our area, it's not uncommon to get 30 years out of a system. If you don't maintain it, you don't change the filter, you can cut that in half or two-thirds. You could kill a system in 8 to 10 years if it's not maintained and if it's not filtered properly.
Yeah, that is really important. And how much, like, ballpark, kind of off the top of your head, what's the cost of maintenance over 30 years versus replacing an entire HVAC system every 10 years?
Well, I don't have current statistics. I do know that previously studies that I've looked at have shown that the cost of maintenance is actually less than what you save in utilities and repairs. Heating and air systems, I always refer to them kind of like cars because people understand cars. You know that if you go get your oil changed and they say, hey, you've got a bad belt here, you should change this belt. That's going to be less expensive and less of a hassle than if you don't have that done and you break down on the freeway and you miss work or you miss an appointment or etc. So
Right.
if you have a professional look at it and he says, hey, by the way, here's some wear and tear on this, we can change this now before it breaks and before it causes some snowball of other needed repairs, and it's just cheaper. And so it's just better to have it looked at and maintained and have somebody that's doing a good job. Unfortunately, there are companies that use maintenance to just keep their technicians busy and to look for opportunities to sell new equipment. So if you are getting a really strong sales pitch from somebody after maintenance on a system that's working, then I would question it and I would get a second opinion.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really important to kind of get second opinions.
Yeah, I
If you
way too often I go to a home and they tell me that they're just looking for estimates because their system either can't be repaired or not is not worth being repaired. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've found some small little problem for very inexpensive I was able to fix and keep their system running another 3, 5, 8 years. So it's very important to have it done by somebody that really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, that's really important. And what, in terms of just like the world of HVAC people, what might you need to look for as a homeowner when you're looking for an HVAC person? Like I won't name names, but there's definitely people who do like a bunch of advertising
Yeah.
and those are the names that come to mind. But if you're thinking of hiring, say, that company or any other company, like what should you really look at when they come? What questions should you ask as an informed homeowner that might help you?
Well, I would say the best thing to do is to talk to people that you know and get a referral. Back in the old days, I used to call it playing yellow page roulette. You would take the yellow pages and you would open it up, and who knows what you were going to get. You were taking your chances. And the truth is, with advertising, like I had a gentleman one time say, I don't ever hire somebody that has a full page ad in the yellow pages because I know what those ads cost. And if they're paying that much for advertising, that means they have to be making a lot more money to stay profitable. So they're charging more in order to pay for those ads. And there is some truth to that. Advertising can be very expensive. And so if you have a group of friends or people that you know and trust, I would ask around and find somebody that they have used, that they trust, that that's going to be typically your best bet. And that's where, having a network of friends really comes in handy.
Yeah.
And again,
So
like I've said multiple times, if somebody is telling you, the hard pressure sale, you got to replace it, blah, anything like that, anything that doesn't sound right, give me a call, give somebody else a call, get a second opinion. Don't just immediately think that, you have to go with what they're saying because they're the quote unquote professional.
right, that is absolutely true. I definitely, even in the, even, I mean, I work as a lawyer, I work as a real estate agent. Um, I have seen so many people who either work with real estate agents, particularly real estate agents, and the agents are like, oh, you have to do this, or you have to like, put an offer in on this house, or you have to do whatever. And it really ends up just being like a high pressure sale because the agent wants a commission, or it's a high pressure sale because the agent just wants to get rid of the client, but they're not really acting in the best interest of their client. So that's,
Absolutely.
and it sounds like it's the same thing. And
It,
lawyers do the same.
it unfortunately at times it is. And it really is a shame. If a technician goes out there and doesn't have the best interests in the client in mind, then there's a lot of things that can be said or done where the client's not going to end up, in the best boat in that. I mean, they can be taken advantage of. I've seen it countless times in my years in the trade, and it's unfortunate, and I hate to see it, but it happens. I'll just give you one example. Years ago, there was a company that took this lady's house and they did a couple things to the system, and they called 20 different companies, and all they said was, I want you to come look at my system and tell me what needs to be done. They had estimates from $800 to almost $20,000. Some of them wanted to replace it. Some of them wanted to completely retrofit the house. Some of them just wanted these repairs. I mean, it was just crazy to see the wide variety of ideas when really it was a perfectly working system. It just had a couple things that could have been upgraded and it would have been fine for a long time. But I don't know. Like I said, listen to what they're saying. If it sounds fishy, get a second opinion.
Yeah. And what are some things that like sound fishy? Like, is it just a high pressure sale, or is it like this system is completely non-functional when you were able to use it yesterday? Like, what's
Anything like that is completely, but I would say the high pressure sales, I have heard of individuals that have gone out and basically they start trying to say that because the way your system is set up right now and the way it's functioning, that if you were to get a fire in your house, your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover your house because this is a dangerous appliance, blah. And so they start using scare tactics and things of that nature. Anything like that doesn't sound right, or the scare tactics, or that's high pressure. If they can't explain it to you in a way that makes sense, it's obviously there's some very technical aspects, but most of it can be broken down fairly simply to make it just, common sense. So I would really just, like I said, use if your spidey senses are tingling that somebody is trying to pull it over on you, then there's a good chance they are.
yeah,
And
that's
I take
true.
phone calls all the time where I answer questions over the phone. And sometimes I go, you know what? That sounds like the technician is telling you the truth. And other times I go out there and I go, oh yeah, not at all. So it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate, but because of the expense involved and some of the quote unquote mystery involved with the technical aspects of heating and air, I've seen it pulled, I've seen it done.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I will say, since I have worked with you, you really do act ethically, and you work really in the best interest of your clients, and you make sure that they're, doing what they're supposed to do, and also getting a system that meets their needs as opposed to trying to sell them something that's not
Yeah,
worth
well,
it.
the last time we worked together, you had a client that was buying a home and had some questions, and I came out there and just pointed out a bunch of things. The seller had done most of the work himself on the heating and air system, and while they
Right.
did some things fairly well, there were some things that were really not very good. And so by my taking a look at it, by the buyer paying, about $100 for me to come look at it, he saved thousands on future repairs he was going to need that the seller ended up having to fix instead. So,
Exactly.
it's a really good idea anytime you're purchasing a home to have it inspected by a professional before you make that, that final.
Yeah. And the other thing that I will say, and I hear this from sellers all the time, is they like to, sometimes sellers really want to work in like a space of ignorance is bliss and just be like, okay, I'm going to sell this house. I don't know anything that's wrong with it. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong with any of these systems. It's on the buyer to fix it. But, sometimes the problem with that attitude is when you actually do go into escrow, and you have to find this out from the buyer, one, you're leaving money on the table. A house is always priced assuming that the systems work properly. And when the systems don't work properly, then you're leaving money on the table. And a lot of the time, you're leaving more money on the table than it would cost for you to fix it and inspect it ahead of time.
Absolutely. And right now, I mean, it's a seller's market. So if you were to go out there, most people are having to pay more than the asking price, or they get into a bidding war and so forth. And if you go out there and you throw everything you have at this house in order to purchase it, and it's this time of the year, the home inspector is going to turn on the air conditioner and he's going to turn on the heater and take a couple temperatures. That's it. Those temperatures will show you some things, but they're not going to be indicative of everything that's going on. And so
Right.
if you turn on an air conditioner and it works today, that doesn't mean it's going to work when it's 100 degrees outside. So if you spend all your money to get into this home and in the middle of summer, your air conditioner goes out and you don't have air conditioning, it could be hundreds or thousands, or you could be looking at a whole new system. So spending a little bit of money up front is really wise.
Yeah, and also like those, some people get home warranties and they're like, yes, we'll replace your system. But I mean, a home warranty it's not exactly insurance, but it kind of functions like insurance.
I
It's Yeah.
I just spent 2 days replacing a system for a lady. It's quote unquote covered under home warranty. She had 8 different visits. She paid $100 per visit, and then about another $700 or $800 in repairs on top of that, things that the home warranty company didn't cover. And at the end of that, she had a heater that didn't work and an air conditioner that didn't work. And I had to go out there and replace a 38-year-old furnace and a 42-year-old air conditioner. And she had to pay for the entire new system. And now she's got to fight with the insurance company. So the home warranties can be good, but their job is to not pay you money. Their job is to keep from having to make that big expense. So yeah, it's good to have it, but it isn't 100% blanket coverage.
No, it's not 100% blanket coverage. You also have to make sure that you actually include air conditioning in the in the in the policy, because it's actually most, well, not maybe not most, but like the policies that I've seen, they typically don't include it as by default. You have to add it on
Yeah.
as an add-on. And I talked to I talked to a big name insurance defense attorney here in San Diego, and essentially what she said is an insurance policy is really simple. And here's what you have to understand about it. It is, I am going to pay you if you lose money because of this event. That's the basis of an insurance policy. And then the rest of the insurance policy is except if, and that's your insurance policy.
Yep. And they'll put as many exclusions in there as they possibly can. Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I've been out to a home where they had the insurance company come out there and they've looked at it, they've tried to fix it. And then what ends up happening is the insurance company will say, well, that failed because of lack of maintenance. Your policy clearly says you're supposed to regularly maintain your heating and air system, and it wasn't maintained. And the homeowner's like, I just bought the house. And they're like, doesn't matter. It's lack of maintenance. It's not covered. So like I said, by all means, it's an expensive appliance. Have it looked at, have it maintained. and have that peace of mind knowing it'll work when it gets hot or gets cold, and that you have, somebody there that's taking care of it for you. And when you come home from work, you can turn that on and be comfortable.
Exactly. And definitely another thing that home buyers really need to understand is they inherit all of the bad decisions of the previous homeowner, uh,
Absolutely.
including for insurance purposes. The insurance company doesn't really care necessarily that you didn't, it's not your fault. They insure the house, they don't insure the owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's like I said, there's all kinds of things where they can exclude it, but if you have it thoroughly checked out and whatever, and it's maintained and so forth, then you've got a lot better chance of being able to get some kind of resolution with an insurance company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything else that you have? I mean, we kind of went in a lot of different directions, including talking about home warranty companies, but is there anything else that you have to say about HVAC systems before we
Well,
say goodbye?
I don't want to make everybody's eyes glazed over, so I won't start getting technical, but I think we've covered it pretty well. It's essentially, before you purchase a home, have the system inspected, have it thoroughly checked out. If you're ever having it maintained or looked at and you're just getting a big sales pitch, then get a second opinion. Most companies will offer a free second opinion or a free estimate. At worst case, if it is a repair, then you might have to pay another service call. But if you get an inaccurate idea of what's wrong the first time, and you're going to be charged all this money for fixing something that's not necessary, an extra service call could be really inexpensive compared to unnecessary repairs. So just make sure you feel comfortable with the person. And if not, give me a call or somebody else and get that second opinion.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And you've mentioned possibly give you a call a number of times. So, how can people get a hold of you if they would like to get a hold of you?
Well, it is Superior Air Systems is the name of my company, and my phone number is 619-609-3226. And like I said, you can find me online or give me a call, and I'll be glad to help.
Awesome. Well, Damien, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
I
you, Frantz.
definitely learned, yeah, I definitely learned a lot about HVAC systems and, what people or homeowners need to do to make sure that they continue working and chugging along and moving heat for as long as possible.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being with us. And next week, we will have another conversation about some other interesting real estate fact. Bye. Bye.